All right. Make sure you pass on any missing work. Keep checking Infinite Campus and make sure you get caught up. Okay, I know everyone in here now can get an Infinite Campus. Yay! Remember, Google Classroom will help you catch up with any missing work. Today, we're looking at I can create algorithms for subtracting negative numbers. Tell someone beside you what's an algorithm. Eliza. Cam, what's an algorithm? Not sure?
No.
Ashton?
It's like a number sentence but with letters.
Okay. And what is that? What is that? So our algorithms that we've been making have letters in them. And how does that help us? Do they tell us like how a problem should work?
Yeah.
Okay. So it's kind of like a set of rules. Okay, to help us maybe get closer, figure out how to do a problem. So I might have an algorithm that looks like a negative plus a larger negative, okay, equals an even greater negative in absolute value terms, right? So we know that this is true. That's an algorithm. So if you look at this, we're talking about subtracting negative numbers. So instead of adding a negative, now we're looking at subtracting a negative and making an algorithm off from that. Talk to your partner about the problem. And Cam, you can work with Justin and them. Figure it out. Awesome. So you want to have this in front of you. Now, I made my scale by 5.
I made mine by 10.
You can make it by 10. So if you made yours by 10, what's halfway in between? 5s, right? So 5 or 10 scale would work for this problem. Either of those scales could work. That's probably not going to be as accurate. Still work, but maybe not as accurate. Because 35 isn't on 15.
Is it?
Nope, 75 is. Okay. 15, 30. Okay. So, label the number line with the appropriate scale. I went by 5s. You could go by 10s. Either one of those work. 15, I don't know about that. You can make it work, but it's not accurate. Write a number sentence. Now, this is a good one. I like this one. To show the number story. Here's the number story. This is the number story right here. So what's the number sentence? Ashton.
75 minus what equals 75?
Bam. I know this is where I started. I had $75, or Ben did. Ben went shopping, bought school supplies, he ended with 35. Where I start, where I end, minusing the n is, we don't know, right? Now, this could be adding negative n as well. Why would I change that to a negative n? Eli, I bet you this is you. Hello? Yep. Okay, thank you. So, why did I change it to a negative? Connor?
Because you're adding negative, whatever.
Okay, I'm adding a negative, yeah.
When you add a negative, it makes positive smaller.
Okay. Why is it adding a negative here? It's money I spent, right?
Yeah.
So let's say I wrote this like this. You just saw that for Ben. What would you think? What would you think if you just saw 40?
That he has $40.
That he has $40.
Yeah.
So, but we know that that's not the case. He doesn't have 40. If you see that, what do you think?
He lost it.
He lost it. He spent it. He doesn't have $40 anymore. He did. He doesn't anymore. So that goes back to this question. What sign would Ben use to show he spent money? He would use a negative sign, not a positive sign. So the third one was, what sign would you use? We're talking about negative or positive. He would use a negative sign to show that he spent the money. Right? Hopefully he got some good swag for school supplies paid. Like a cool backpack, a Britney Spears backpack.
Why?
You don't like Britney Spears?
No. Her voice is too high. She was like.
I cannot. I'm just joking. All right. I'm a fan of music, but I'm not a big fan of Britney Spears music. You've never heard me play Britney Spears. That's a fact. Eva can validate that statement. Okay. All right. Next. This gave us some problems here. Why is it doing this? No, I don't know why it's just not staying on there. So we had some problems with this consistently. Austin, tell me.
What the answer is?
Well, just tell me what you're thinking.
50 minus negative 20.
Okay? And what else are you thinking?
How to solve it?
Otis, what do you notice about this?
Instead of a plus sign, it's a minus sign.
Okay? We're subtracting.
Oh,
Callie, what else?
and that it's when you're subtracting, when you're subtracting your negative, you're not it's not like adding a negative where you go back on the number line. It's adding it, so it would more be like 50 plus 20.
Yes. Subtracting a negative is like adding a positive. So this turns into 70. Now, if you look back here, this is a great anchor for us to use. I can't believe that didn't follow me. Come on. It's like if I walk too fast, done. Okay. Yeah, it does. There we go. So look, adding a negative, we move left. So the only other thing is that if you subtract the negative, you move right on the number line, which means your numbers get bigger in value. Okay, they get closer to 0 if they're negative, and if they're positive, they get even further from 0 on the positive side. They increase in value. So that one gave us a hard time. The other one that gave us a hard time was this one. I might not have it. I think it was. Nope, I don't know it. Oh, shoot. It was this one. It was negative 50 minus 20. Or something like that. If I start at negative 50, Cam, and I subtract 20, which way on the number line do I go?
You go up.
I go left. Okay, because look.
Also up.
Yeah. Anytime I subtract a positive, I'm going to decrease in value and I'm going to move left. So if I'm starting in the negatives, the number is going to become more negative.
And so much value.
Okay. So here, how can you predict whether the difference of two integers is 0, or positive or negative? So tell me, what is an integer, first of all? Connor? What?
The distance between one number and another number.
Not exactly. Integers are numbers and their opposites. And they're whole numbers. Okay, they're not decimals. They're not rational numbers. Okay? They're whole numbers, and it's number and its opposite. So, what's difference mean? Justin, difference.
Like subtracting.
Yes, the answer of a subtraction, right? So it's asking me, predict whether the difference, the answer of a subtraction problem, can be 0, positive, or negative. This is where our algorithms come in. So what algorithm would give me that? Talk to your partner. This is subtraction. I heard a positive minus the same positive. Okay? So a positive number and the same positive number is going to give me 0. Anything else is going to give me 0.
Negative and a positive, but they have to be like negative and a negative.
A negative and a negative. So if I have a negative and I subtract the same negative, because subtracting a negative is like, that's going to be 0. So we got 2 algorithms that make 0. So opposites don't make 0 here. Right? Because if I go and do opposites, if I go 4 minus negative 4, look what happens. That doesn't equal 0. That equals 8. And if I do it the other way, what do you think my answer would be?
Negative 8.
Negative 8. Right? Whoops. Minus 4 equals negative 8. So the opposites don't work with subtraction and getting 0. Opposites work with addition and getting 0. I can add opposites, boom, disappear, right? We've been talking about that. But I can't subtract opposites and get 0. But I can subtract the same number and get 0. Make sense, Hennessy? So what about if I want a positive number over here? So now I'm asking you this. I want a positive number as my answer. What has to happen here? Talk to your partner.
A bigger positive. A bigger positive minus a bigger negative.
Or a positive minus negative.
So I heard Schmitty say this, Cam. Take a bigger positive, subtract a little positive, I'm still going to have a positive number. Okay? But this positive, I mean, it won't be as big as that, right?
Yeah.
But it could be bigger than that. So we know that it's going to end positive, but it's going to be smaller than this one. What about if I start with a negative and I subtract? How do I get a positive here? Yeah, talk to your partner.
Cameron. I think it'd have to be negative minus negative. I had to write it down for us.
So, I heard Callie was saying, if you start with a little negative and I subtract a bigger negative, I am going to end with a positive number. So you guys just have, right there is 4 algorithms. 2 for positive, 2 for finding 0. Tell your partner if you want to end with a negative. Go. Come on, end with a negative. Yes.
The same method. Small positive or the bigger one.
It's pretty much just a big negative minus.
So today, think about those algorithms, because today's going to be all about subtracting. Okay? With negatives. Remember the rules. Okay? That when we add a negative number, we move left. on the number line. And when we subtract a negative number, we move right on the number line. And you guys already know when you're subtracting a positive number, we move left on the number line. So think about all those algorithms when you're doing your work today. Any questions about this at all?
No.
Okay. I just want to make sure absolute value. Are we all good on absolute value? Because we've been covering it in here.
Yes.
What does absolute value mean? Ashton?
It's the distance from zero.
And it doesn't matter which side you're on, right? Absolute value is neither positive nor negative. So if I go 25 minus 40, I get negative 15. Over here, 40 minus 25, I get positive 15. But because of these absolute value bars, this is 15, that's 15, it's equal. So think about absolute value in those terms. Any other questions? Okay. Today. So on the back side of your paper that you got today, yep, we are extending subtraction to rational numbers. Okay.
On page 38.
We do our work on the back side.
Yes.
Going to take attendance, and I will come around. So you got be all and see all.
Is it in the purple section?
Page 32,
Yeah.
33,
37.
37, 38 is the work. Yeah. See your C. First, what's your first group? There's two, so you have group 1 and group 2. You did group 2.
And group 1, this is all the info.
Oh, I get it.
This is
Yes.
basic
Okay.
shit.
I was like, I didn't realize that was 1 and 2. Okay, good. You're on 2-1, dude. 2-2. See, 2-1. Is this 2-2? Yeah. So start on. See, Austin. When I put this up here. I try to put page number. You have the solutions for those yet? Okay. I think that is, it says find the differences. They don't want you to talk about, they want you to, they're like comparing them out. Hey, but that is one of them down here. Wait a minute. See? Describe an algorithm. So you kind of like already done some work. But yeah, difference difference means solve.
I got really confused.
Yeah. You're like, that is a weird question. Wait a minute. They start with 500. Yeah. So she has 500 and then taking away. So, right? You have it right up here. No, but you didn't. This question's right. What will happen? So if they take away 150, they're increasing the square root, right?
Yep.
Because you're subtracting a negative. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Good. Nice. Okay, so yes, that's perfect. This is your negative 150, right? And it's going to be actually positive 150 because they're taking it away, right? They're subtracting it. They're actually increasing their score. Negative. It's like not positive. Right? Because you know, if you're taking a negative away, the only way I can take, like if I go top down $4, right? The only way I can take away that negative 4 is by giving her $4. Find the difference. You want to solve. Does that make sense? You got to use that mathematical term, right? Difference. I know some of us think like, oh, differences. How you doing, D4, Callie?
What?
Did you get D4?
Yeah.
You got it right?
I was a little confused. I had to like figure out what I did wrong because I did that the first time.
I want you, that was one of the harder ones.
Yeah. So first time I got 1/4.
So what did you do wrong?
So let me see. So it was -1/2 minus 3 3/4.
Right, so you have to change this.
Yeah, that to 2/4.
Yep, 2/4.
And then I was like, oh, so this, not take one of these away, equals that equals 4/4. So then that would be minus that one and the rest of the 4.
Okay. Okay, so this is going to turn. It's going to turn into more shapes. So here we're going to have it's -1 1/2 minus -3/4. So this is going to turn into -1 2/4 minus -3/4. So,
Oh,
what?
I realized what I did wrong.
What did you do wrong?
You can convert this would equal 8 million. Okay, yeah.
That's exact. So you need to go from here, you need to go -6/4 minus -3/4, which is 3/4. So you have -6 plus that equals -3.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So because, yeah, you got to convert those.
Yeah.
Oh, you're a D. Nice. You get into a hard one. D4 is good. You okay?
Good.
Find the difference means solve.
I know that.
Okay.
So that
Yeah. Yep. So you're gonna get 20. That's that whole like. The only way I can take a debt away, like if I owed you $20, the only way I can take that debt away is to give you 20. So that's why taking the debt away is like adding. Oh, that kind of makes sense. It's kind of a cool concept. I got a video that I'm going to show you. I'm going to work on this for 5 minutes. Okay, say it again. Yep, that's an algorithm, right? This is a set of rules that help us figure out a problem. So you have positive minus a negative makes it bigger, positive. Boom. Yeah.
And then, so is it different when you have fractions?
Oh, you want D? Okay, so anytime I have a fraction, 2 1/4 minus -1/8. We'll make that -6. Okay. I can't do anything until these denominators are the same. Right? You know, okay. So I gotta change this to -2. 8 goes into 8 and 4 goes into 8. So I'm going to use 8 as my denominator. 4 times 4 go in there.
4 goes in there twice.
2 times 1. And then I can keep this. Now, here's the thing. I can't work this. I got to make this an improper fraction. So I'll go 8 times 2, 16, right? 16 plus 2, 8. So this is actually -18/8. Now, You're like, oh, now I can do it. Subtracting a negative is like adding. So negative 18 plus 1 is 17 negative, right? Because it's negative. And now I convert it back. How many times does 8 go into here? How many? So that's 16. 1 left over. Well, so if I'm looking at this algorithm-wise, this is a bigger negative than that. I am subtracting a smaller negative. So anytime I take a bigger negative and I add a smaller negative in absolute value, I still get a negative. Because this is smaller than that, right? Go. Where is it? 66?
66. And then
I think that's in. It's in the first one. I don't get why they do it that way. No, it's got to be in this one. Check it. Got to be in there. Negative 8 minus negative 2. Negative. Because I'm at negative 8, look. I'm at negative 8. I add 2. 22. Whenever I add, I go right. No, it's not negative 2 because you're subtracting it. Which means you're actually adding it. Anytime you subtract a negative, it's like adding a positive. Right? Because it's negative 8 minus negative 2. So this turns into negative 8, keep, change, change. Turns into that, Tatiana. I kept that, changed the operation, change that. Did you already do 68? I want to see it. That's a good one. Did you check it? Because that's a tough one. Because that's a running total. That was one that you missed last time. Right? Isn't that the one we have to go across?
Yeah.
I did it this morning. It's not easy. Yeah.
Yeah, it's that one.
And you have to talk about the range.
And the range is where the range is
range is lowest to the highest and the difference in between.
And then the mean is the
And the mean
add
them all up and divide by how many numbers.
Okay.
That was a harder one. How you doing, Dylan? Yeah. Good. Oh no, that one is. That looks perfect. Yeah. Did you get to D4 yet, Otis? Did you get? I showed you the work. Tell me D4, what's the problem? It's negative 1.5.
1.5 minus 3/4.
Negative 3/4.
Negative 2/4.
All right, guys, if you guys can look up here, this is D4. 4. I'm going to go over D4. So you guys can look over here. All right. So I have a whole number with a fraction, and then I have a fraction. So the first thing I'm going to look at is which one of these has a greater absolute value? Which one?
Negative 3/4.
Okay, negative 3/4, right? So this has a greater absolute value. I know that here I'm subtracting a negative, which means I am adding a positive. So I have a negative plus a smaller positive in absolute value terms, right? In absolute value terms, this is a smaller positive, so I can even do it this way. Is my answer going to be positive or negative?
Negative.
Okay, it's going to be negative because this is greater. Okay. So that helps me just right off. The next thing I notice is I have two different denominators. Can you add or subtract the two different denominators? No. You need to have a common denominator. This one's actually quite easy because I'm like, oh, I can keep this as -1. And my common denominator, I'm going to make 4. Because 4 goes into 4 one time. And 2 goes into 4 2 times. So I'm going to make this 4. 2 goes into there 2 times. 2 times 1, 2. And you guys can see 2/4 is the same as 1/2. They're the same, right? And then I'm going to add 3/4. Now, here's the next problem. Unless I know how to do this in my head, I have to turn it into a improper fraction. So I'm going to turn this into an improper fraction. 4 times 1 is 4, plus 2 is 6. So this is negative 6/4 plus 3/4. Now, I'm like, yes, I can do this. Negative 6 plus positive 3, negative 3. My answer is negative 3/4. Did you get it? Dang, that's a hard problem, man. That's the hardest one that was on the board today. That's awesome. Okay, I'm going to show you something quick. So you can put away your notes.
Oh yeah.
I'm going to go to Google Classroom. This is a pretty cool video. I'm going to show you the shortened version.
Why can we work that?
It's in Classroom. It's right here, subtracting negatives.
Oh, this was creepy.
Oh no, this is awesome.
It's
That was
not.
the creepy one.
Okay.
Very rushed it.
If you take away negative 5, you
Oh,
have to
that's
end up at 0.
Yeah.
So we're going to show how this all works in a number line. But before we get started, we got to get off Charlie. He's going to be,
Come on.
How do you get 4?
Get see Charlie.
You get 4, and you take away 4, you're going to end up at 0, right? Charlie, if you had 4 apples, and somebody takes away your 4 apples, how many apples do you have left? 0. That's right, you have 0. So let's begin by translating this word statement into a math statement. 4 take away 4 means 4 subtract 4. If you take away, you're subtracting. 4 subtract 4, let's do it on a number line. 4 subtract 4 gives you 0, of course. I mean, that makes sense. Now, let's take a look at this word statement. Negative 4 take away negative 4. If you have negative 4 and you take away the exact same quantity, negative 4, you have to end up at 0, right? So let's do this on a number line. First, let's translate this word statement into a math statement. Here it is, negative 4 take away negative 4. This is negative 4 subtracting negative 4. Well, let's start at negative 4. Now, if we're going to take away a negative 4, we know we have to end up at 0. So to end up at 0, notice we have to move right 4 units. Because negative 4 subtracting negative 4 has to be 0. Notice here, negative 4 plus a positive 4 gives us the same result on the number line. We end up at 0. So it must be true then that negative 4 subtracting negative 4 behave the same as -4 plus 4, right? Because they both give you 0 x.
So you guys see that? That the only way, if I start with a negative and I take that negative away, the only way I can get rid of it is by adding. That's why when you have a negative and you're subtracting it, it's like adding a positive. So I don't know if that helped you or confused you, but we're on to the exit ticket. So,
This class goes so
exit. Here we go. Homework for tonight. Hey, good news, over the weekend is pretty light. Okay? We got 14C, 14D.
14X and 14Y.
No, we don't. 14Y. That'd be pretty crazy. That'd be a lot of problems. Exit. So we talked about algorithms. We're talking about subtracting negative numbers. Your job today, write down 2 algorithms
Oh, that's easy.
using negative numbers. And you have to explain one of them.
I'm already done.
You have to explain one with words. You have to write down 2 algorithms using subtraction and that have negatives. They don't have to both be negative, but one of them can be. And then you have to explain what one of them means.
What about negative positive?
You could do that. You could do a negative, but you have to tell me, is it a bigger positive, smaller positive in absolute value terms? You got to tell me that piece. You just can't go a negative minus a positive. Well, actually, you could in that case. Because it will equal a bigger negative than the original negative.
And a positive and a negative positive.
That's just, holy cow, Cam. Yeah. So, one example could be a negative minus
Positive.
another negative. It doesn't matter. That, okay, well, actually, it does matter. Hold on. A negative minus a smaller negative, because this turns into adding, is still going to equal a negative. If this absolute value is greater than that absolute value, then we still get a negative. And then I could do the exact opposite. A negative minus an even bigger in absolute value terms negative. That negative has a greater absolute value. Then I know my answer is going to be positive. If the negative I am subtracting in absolute value terms is greater than the first one, I'm going to get a positive answer, which is kind of not intuitive. It's a little different. It's not super intuitive. Yep, hold on. You guys are going to pass your exit tickets in. Put them right here. You guys have an awesome weekend.